Black and brown creatives, understand me. L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast is here. I am looking for you. L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast. You trying to get it out there? DM me. I will shout out your work. I will drop links to your work. This is free. You don't have to give me a penny. I just want your time and your story, good brother. I just want your time and your story, good sister. We have our platform now. Let's get out there. This is what's up. This is what you need to do. I want your work to be out there, and I'm waiting on you. Tell me a story. Okay, welcome back. Welcome everybody and all of y'all to the L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast. I am your host, Ijlal Abdullah Muhammad, and as always, we're about to get into some things. So yet again, I have another very, very special guest that I am very excited to speak with. I know this is going to be a great journey to listen to as what she delves in is a very on the rise creative way of expression, and it's just going to be extremely exciting. So let me go ahead and introduce the good sister. She is an accomplished AI image and video creator, licensed realtor in the state of Illinois, and the author of over 5 published books. She has collaborated with entertainers, including her most recent AI video collaboration with Grammy Award artist Layla Hathaway, pretty good, and creators across the industry using AI to produce impactful visuals and videos that tell powerful stories. Excuse me. She is also a seasoned speaker and a trainer who shares her expertise on AI branding and creativity on national stages. Her work is a unique blend of technology, innovation, and a deep commitment to inspiring others to push boundaries in their own fields. Ladies and gentlemen, Black and brown creatives everywhere, please put your hands together for Chicago, Illinois' own Kimberly Offord is in the building remotely. Good afternoon. How you doing, good sister?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Let me tell you something. This has got to be my 16th interview thus far with on the L.O.S.T Creatives Podcast, and I'm still in awe whenever someone responds and says, "Yeah, I'm interested." Hopefully I continue to keep that humility. Because I don't want to lose it. I'm very excited. I saw your page, and I'm so interested as it relates to AI, how it works. Especially the animation part of it. It's extremely intriguing to me. I had the privilege of speaking with so far one. Before you, another AI artist, Charisse, from Ink Beautiful, and that was really great. She gave me her insight. She has not delved into it and as much as you have, and and due to that reasoning, she hasn't seen as much success in it that you have, even though she's very well on her way. So this is just going to be yet another great conversation with another perspective, another set of experience as it relates to AI, and I'm ready to go. But before I do, I definitely want to know, what's the weather like in Chicago today?
Listen. So look here. It wasn't too bad today.
Oh, okay.
But
today,
listen, we start off with winter, and then we end up in like fall, and then you get about 15 minutes of spring, and then it's downhill from there. So we had a little break today. It was 49. It was 49 today. Come on.
Okay.
But it was 12 yesterday.
I can't. I don't even understand.
I
Well,
we complain about it every year, but we don't go nowhere.
But you don't go nowhere.
No. The best thing ever. I saw a video today. A young lady was talking about this was her first year in Chicago, and it was her first time with the Hawk to experience the Chicago Hawk. And oh, baby, now she knows.
Yeah, now she knows. Look, I'm from New York. That's not Chicago. Yeah, we definitely get a winner. But man, I was in Chicago for a hot second. It was many moons ago. I was there for a conference, place I used to work. I was at the Hyatt Regency Hotel.
Okay.
And I didn't really get out at all, but there was this one split second I was able to get out. And let me tell you, I went right back in.
I was gonna say, and it knocked you right back in.
I was just like, okay, no. Like, never mind. I will just stay in my room and step back out here when I gotta leave to go back home.
But I love it.
But that's what's up. Okay. Well, good sister Kimberly.
And you can call me Kim. You can call me Kim. Yep.
Kim, that works. Okay. All right. That's what's up. All right, Kim. Well, as we do it on the L.O.S.T Creative Podcast, I'm an author, and I believe that telling stories is one of the best ways to relay information, to give insight, to understand, to learn. So I like for the guests to tell their creative journeys, but to break it up in a story format. So we break up your journey into 3 chapters. The start, the middle, and present, because your journey is still going. So you definitely did that, and you titled them. And let's go ahead and start with chapter 1, which you did title Dreamer's Prelude. By the way, that is a very, very lovely title.
It's a storytelling title.
You're giving me ideas, Kim. Dreamer's Prelude. Let me write this down.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey. I thought it was really interesting that you did ask for the titles and the chapters, in life, because it made me really think about it. And I mean, you live in it. And so sometimes you think about it from that point of view of, I'm entering a new chapter in my life, you say that all the time, but that first chapter, that Dreamer's Prelude, the reason why I named it that is because I was thinking about all the way from childhood, all the way up to possibly, once I got, out of college. And I was always a creative as a kid, but I'll tell you what I went into. My degrees are in marketing. So I've always been, exposed to entrepreneurs. My grandmother was an entrepreneur, raised me. And so I was always around either creative people, very positive, African Americans in my family. We weren't the richest, at all. We started off, living I was born and raised, and for about 3 or 4 years of my life, in the projects. And my family, my grandfather, worked at the post office, and my grandmother was an entrepreneur. She did hair, and they worked and bought a house, and we moved, and so my family always was that positive influence, and that, listen, you're going to do something, you're going to make something of yourself, you're going to go to school, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and it gave me a really great opportunity to see myself doing something else, whatever that was. There was, no limitation, but doing something. So I was always this dreamer, of this is what I'm going to do when I grow up. Or this is what I'm gonna be, or whatever. I had a piano. I took piano lessons. Couldn't draw, can still read music, but can't really play nothing if you wanted me to right now. But there was still that dream, that dreamer's thing. And so I fast forward many years. I went to graduated from Columbia College in Chicago, and in marketing, and then I went straight from there to grad school at Northwestern, and I got a master's degree in marketing. And my dream was that I was going to come out and I was going to be this brand manager at a major advertising agency. I was going to do this big, corporate thing. And man, didn't work out. It just didn't work out. And
Mhm.
I say that without any shame, you know.
Yes.
Um, because I knew that I would always be an entrepreneur. I always knew that I
Yeah.
would, do that. But it was what were going to be those in between things,
Right. Right.
Um, and so that's why I call it that, because I didn't start off as a creative. I did creative things, and
Mhm.
as a hobby, I did creative things. And I've always was, like that visionary, but as a profession, I did not.
Mhm.
What ended up happening, and I will say this, and I want to share this because it was put on my heart to share this. I think your audience needs to hear this, especially
Mhm.
from us.
Yeah.
Here's what happened. I was 23. I had this bachelor's and a master's degree, and had this degree from this prestigious, like number one, number two college, school in this university.
Mhm.
And I had a name, Kimberly Offord. Now, if you don't see me and you look at that on a resume, that could be somebody else. That could
Yep.
be a whole lot of different people, right?
Yep.
And what ended up happening is that when I came out of grad school, I would go interview for jobs. I would get there. Kimberly Offord wasn't the Kimberly Offord they thought it
Mhm.
was. And I'd have to convince them that I really had these degrees at 23. And so therefore, what would happen in all these
Mhm.
jobs, I wouldn't get them. And how people talk about now, they talk about imposter syndrome a lot, where they don't think they
Yeah.
deserve to be where they are. I didn't have imposter syndrome. I just got
Mm.
tired of trying to convince people of who I was. And so I was just like,
Mm.
you know what? If you're not going to believe me, guess what? I'm going to just do it myself, you know? And
There you
so,
go.
I rotated through a lot of different jobs. I did eventually get a job at an advertising agency, but this to go to show you, I didn't get a job in the marketing department. I got a job in the accounting department, thinking that, hey, I could work my way, into the
Yeah.
marketing department. That never happened. And you know what? It just wasn't where I was supposed to be. Now, of course, I was devastated at the time, but I was just like, I spent all this money on this degree.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I was using it all that time because I knew that I was the brand. I was the
Nice.
brand, and I was being creative in that sense, in that
Yeah.
I was charting a path, for myself, or at least trying to figure it out. And it took a while. It really did. And that's why
Mhm.
I wanted to share that, because there's somebody out there who's really discouraged because it's not
Yeah.
working out, the way they thought it would. That degree is not getting them that job they thought it would, but, that was my prelude, in being a creative, is having to just figure it out, just stick with it and figure it out. So that's the story of that chapter.
You said a mouthful, and I'm that easily resonates with a lot
Mhm.
of us. You
Yep.
know, that resonates with a lot of us who aren't even creatives. You know what I mean? It that's not to trivialize it in any way, shape, or form, but that is so many times our story.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's unfortunate in the sense that wow, this condition here sucks,
Hmm.
but it's empowering in the sense that it did what it tends to do
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right, I'll find a way,
Yeah.
and um Frederick Douglass uh said without struggle there is no
No
progress.
progress. Yeah.
And that is
Yeah.
I remember when I was a little boy when I read that quote, and I've always remembered it. And when I started to get out in the world, it made so much more sense to me. And I'm glad you shared that, because it's important for not to, those who are struggling know they're struggling. So it's not like someone needs to say, hey, you're struggling. That's not why it's important. But it's important to always remember that you're not alone in it, because when you're going through it, you're not thinking about how many other people are also going through. You're just thinking about the crap you're running into over and over. So it's great. It's comforting to know that you're not alone, and then it's inspiring and motivational when someone who has turned that struggle into success to say, hey, I was running into doors left and right, closed doors left and right too.
Yeah.
So, and for it to happen at such a young age, I mean, people don't realize, 23 is that's young. Like, that's a young age. You don't know the world. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, when you're 23, you think you do.
Yeah.
but and to do that to such a young person who thought that, wait a minute, I thought I was just supposed to go get a degree, and I did that, and and then to hit them so hard. Unfortunately, not everybody pushes through.
Right. And I'm definitely aware of that. The other thing that I ran into is that at such a young age, I had all these degrees and all this knowledge, but I didn't have any work experience either.
Yeah.
So I had to, part of the story is, well, Kim, you got to pay your dues too. You got to get in here and you got to get in this work environment, because you're not going to come right out and be at the head of the department. You're just not. Number one, because you're just not, because you don't have work experience in this area. But number two, I had to face the fact that, number two, because you're going into an industry that's used to seeing a certain type of person. And so even though at that time there were some advertising agencies like your Burrell Advertising that concentrated on diverse marketing and diverse advertising, but there weren't that many of them out there, And so, we just went through that. But the other thing I want to say is right now, that time was a lot different when I first came out of college, because we didn't have, I'm telling my age, you didn't have social media. You didn't have a lot of the internet and the instant gratification. Didn't have that.
That changed a lot.
Yes, that has changed a lot. And you have a lot of people who are looking for that instant gratification. And, it happens. It happens. But sometimes you have to think about it. Does that instant gratification, does it last? Does it last long? Is this as sustainable? I almost look at it like I look at, trendy clothes. You're gonna look cute for a second. Minute, you're gonna look real out of style.
Yep.
So you have to look at instant gratification in the same way. Build a foundation, and that's what I was doing in that first chapter, and didn't even realize that that's what I was doing, was building a foundation. And that foundation, it was a lot of different things. It wasn't just jobs, but it was life experiences. It was rejections, it was moments of where I won, and there were moments when I didn't win, and so that was that foundation. And you have to go through all of that. That's just life.
Yes, it is. And it's everything you say is straight up correct. You had mentioned just a little earlier, you said you pay your dues, right? And I can dig having to pay your dues. But people see that differently. There is, look, you gotta go through the muck and mire. You gotta, have some difficulty here. You gotta mess up there, see why that didn't work, so you can grow to be better, right? Experience. Okay, that's cool. But then you have another side that paying your dues for them means, you got to be treated like crap.
Well,
You
now I
know,
didn't say let folks use you.
yeah, but I'm saying, but
That comes, yeah,
that can many times be a reality,
yes,
especially when it comes to corporate.
oh yeah,
You know, I uh, I'm a for most of my professional life, I'm a learning and development expert now. So I've, been in corporate for 20 years, where I'm always sitting with, the stakeholders and, when they're expressing to me what they want for their departments, so on and so forth.
mhm,
One of the many things that I had to learn, that was very hard for me to adjust to was, those chiefs, those CEOs and the CFOs, and they don't like to be told that they're wrong,
no,
and I was not that guy. I I was very naive. I
mhm,
thought that, okay, well, if I told you why your idea didn't make any sense or why it wouldn't be productive, and then followed it up with a solution, then I'd be good. And I learned very early that that's not correct. And then two, even if you have a solution, many times they don't want it from you.
right,
And that's the real sucky side. But
yep,
once again, in regards to, paying your dues, I'm all fine with that, but at the same time, how can I get the experience when you're not giving me the opportunity? You know, and that tends to be that is the most frustrating thing.
it is, and it was very frustrating for me. I, I mean, I could tell you story after story of things that happened in corporate America, with me. And it just, it got to the point where I had to say to myself, this is just not me. This is not
Yeah.
me. This is not my path. I know who I am and I know what I bring to the table. And so now I've got to step out on faith and I have
Mhm.
to do something different. Now, I had those safety nets because I had a, strong family support, hadn't moved out yet. Families are easy on the girl in the family. The guys, they kick
Yeah.
all out.
Out. Straight up. Straight up.
But the girls, we kind of have it a little bit easier, you know.
Yeah.
And I know that's not everybody's story, but the bottom line is that I did. I had a really good support system in that they knew, I was navigating and trying to find my way. Now I wasn't just sitting around, trying to, just doing unrealistic stuff, but I really was, I may have had a job, in the in between that wasn't in my major, but it paid
Mhm.
those bills, which is what
Right.
I needed while I tried to, find myself in that marketing arena. And that's why I started just, ever since I got out of grad school, I was consulting with other businesses, with entrepreneurs. I was always doing entrepreneur work, but I also had a job on the side where I was, able to pay the
Mm.
bills.
Mhm.
So, yep.
So I think that, that's an excellent transition
Hmm.
into chapter 2,
Okay.
which you titled Silent No More.
Yes. What is that about? Well,
Right.
um, so as we're talking, and now listen, every chapter of my life, if you want to talk about a different topic, the titles of the chapters will probably be different, right? But when
Right.
we're talking about being a creative, here's
Mhm.
the thing. I knew all of my life that I was a creative,
Mm.
but I couldn't figure out how to articulate that. So you
Mm.
ever, been in a dream or something and you're trying to scream and get out of this dream, but nothing comes out of your mouth, but it's there. That's how I felt for
Yep.
many years because
Mm.
like I told you, I played piano, have a baby grand piano in my living room right now that's a little bit dusty.
Mhm.
And I could play, but I couldn't play. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't it. Written a
Right.
fiction novel. It was a really good novel. Sold, quite a few novels. This was some years ago. And then I said, I'm
Okay.
going to write the second and the third one. And never did really get them off, because, it was like, do I want to, dive into this anymore? I would like to, but I don't feel like it. So
Mm.
there wasn't that drive to do it. Um,
Yeah.
I collect art. I am an avid art collector.
Okay.
I collect art of African American artists, and you will not find one, well, maybe one print in this house. It's all original, and
Nice.
I Chicago artists. If I see an artist online somewhere, or if I'm traveling, I'll go somewhere, And if you walked into my house, my art tells a story. You know who I'm.
Nice.
Okay, you know exactly who I am if
Nice.
you see my art. Um, but that was just another way of me articulating what was in me that I
Right.
did because I can't paint. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't paint this stuff, So again, it was just me or the creative crying out saying, "Hear me, here I am." Um, then we fast forward to the whole AI thing.
Yeah.
And I started doing AI as a result of being a realtor. So
Okay. Okay.
I've been a realtor since 2006, and I've managed agents. I have a managing broker's license. I've managed offices, and my whole thing was just trying to inspire those agents to do, to be successful and all that great stuff. Um, when we hit that pandemic and AI started coming up more, I was
Mm-hmm.
using AI for real estate. Okay. And I was using ChatGPT. I was using all of those to do marketing. I wasn't just writing emails with AI,
Mm.
or helping it to, having it to help me write. I was doing business planning with AI. I'm
Gotcha.
doing strategy and all kinds of other things. And then I started doing the images because I wanted to create social media content for
Yeah.
myself as a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing the images and all of that. I don't know what made me start creating actual images that were artistic, And I
Mm-hmm.
just started doing that, and I was like, "This is I'm kind of liking this." When you stay up 2-3 o'clock in the morning and you don't realize that it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when you're doing something, then that says something,
That
you
says a
know.
whole lot. Yeah.
Says a whole lot. So I started out just doing images that looked more like I guess you could say oil paintings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what made me do it. I think maybe I saw another creator somewhere. Um, I started getting into the photorealistic images. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
I am right now, is in the photorealistic images. And the reason why that chapter is called Silent No More is because I feel like that creative has found its place or
Yeah.
found her place
Yeah.
in those images, because sometimes I don't even know where they come from. There's a lot of criticism around AI and AI images, and that it steals art from, the art that the existing art that's out there, or it's going to take
Mm-hmm.
jobs and all that other stuff. And I get it. I understand how you prompt in that way, that yes, they are correct, but I don't prompt in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what's the difference is that I tell people no one can tell your story. The
Nope.
stories that you have in your mind, no one can tell your story. So my images are based on the stories in my mind.
Yes.
They're not based on the artists that I collect. They're not
Mm-hmm.
based on the artists that I love. It's based on the images that I've seen in my brain that I couldn't get out, because I can't draw, or I can't sing it because I can't sing, and I can't play it on the piano. So that's what that is. And so that's why that chapter is called Silent No More, because sometimes, like I said, I sit down and I don't even know where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I and this is definitely something that I'm I'm running into more when as it relates to AI artists, that like I think like what Sharita had mentioned. She said that one of the biggest critiques that she runs into is people say she's not a real artist, she's not a real creative, and I thought I was just like that's okay. Let me go back. People always jump on or have harsh criticism of the new thing, right? Because if you think about it, and you remember when what was it? You remember when digital art came out, right? And it had to go through its smuck and mire of all the harsh critiques, and now digital art is very big, and no one is in their right mind is saying that a digital artist is not an artist, right? But earlier on, big time. And then you can go back before that. When hip hop came out, oh, you're not a real artist, you're just taking someone else's record, and then you just rhyming over it. The new thing, especially the new artistic thing, always has to go through its critique before it is recognized as a true art form. So, and AI is at that point. Now, like you said, yes, there are those situations where there was this thing I saw online where on social media, this artist is a black AI artist, and he's a painter. Excuse me. I can't remember the name of the painting. Can't remember the name of the artist, but the creative. But it was this painting of these, I think, 4 black women. They were sitting on top of
on the roof. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And then beautiful painting. I love the concept. Beautiful concept. Yeah. And then some AI artist stole the concept, changed up the look of the women, made them look very trashy, but whatever. Anyway, changed up the look of the women, changed up the way the buildings looked, and then there you go. It's like, okay, see that's completely different. And here's the main reason why, and this is the main reason why I would definitely say creative like yourself is most certainly creative. A creative like Sharita is from Ink Beautiful is definitely creative. I don't care if you're drawing, I don't care if you're painting, I don't care if you're wood carving, I don't care if you're dancing, I don't care if you're singing. It doesn't start with that action. It starts conceptually. Right. There is something in your mind.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And that no one can take. Yeah. Because that is a perception type thing. Like Sharita said, she couldn't draw, she couldn't paint. She just couldn't do it. She tried so many years, couldn't do it. But it was definitely a silent no more for her. When AI came about, it was like, now I have the tool, the conduit to get my vision out.
Yeah.
And you see her work, and it's like, look, there's no one in the world you tell me that you just typed in something and it generated that. That's not happening.
Yeah. And so here's the thing. I do not knock anyone who calls themselves an AI artist. I don't call myself an AI artist. And I think that those who do have every right to call themselves an AI artist. I call myself a storyteller. And the reason why I do that is because when I generate those images, I'm all of my stuff, I take it to video. Now, yes, there is that one static image that has to be generated first. Yeah, that's the way that I do it, and then that I take that image and then I animate that image, and it's to tell a story. And so that's just my approach to it. But you hit the nail right on the head, in that it's AI is just another tool that is used by those who have those concepts. Who can conceptualize whatever it is that they have in their mind. I see some AI images sometimes, and I'm like, what in the world were you thinking when you did that?
Right.
And so it also challenges your mind a lot, because in some projects that I've done, I have pushed myself to create images I didn't even think were in me, you know.
Mm.
And it was intentional. It was
Yeah.
intentional. And so that's where it is. And we're getting that resistance a lot in amongst the art community, but
Hmm.
also amongst film producers,
Yep.
photographers, film people. But here's the thing: it's here,
It's
and
here.
it's nothing you can do about it. Either you're going to learn it and use it as a tool with your trade, or you're not. There are some
Yep.
artists who are on Instagram right now, and they are traditional artists, and they
Hmm.
rediscovered their own art by enhancing their own art that they've already done with AI. And
Yep.
so it's a tool. I get it. Everybody's not going to be with it, but it's not going anywhere, and
Nope.
so I would encourage anyone who, and as a matter of fact, I always encourage, because I do teach some course classes from time to time, to get into it, because there's that statement that folks make, well, I'm going to get replaced by AI. And then I'm sure you've heard this other statement, well, AI is not going to replace you, but the person who's using AI is going to replace you. And so that's how you have to kind of look at it. And I mean, I can go even further into it, as far as, film people and everybody else, because for me to create the images that I create in order to do what I do, I had to learn a lot of things I didn't know, and not just
Yes.
prompting.
Yes.
Not prompting,
Yeah. That's sometimes people just run their mouths. But and a lot of times you don't see. Like I'm consistently referring to Sharita because she was the only other AI artist that I had the pleasure of speaking with.
Okay.
And Sharita educated herself in PowerPoint. She was creating things with PowerPoint way before AI was out. Then she educated herself in Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then when AI came, she was able to use all of these things. She uses all of these things. So it's just like, no, this is, and once again, at least for me, I can't speak for everybody else, but at least for me, when I see it, I clearly say, you didn't just talk that into the generator and it just gave you that. That's not what happened.
No.
I could clearly tell more is involved here.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Well, not just those tools in Photoshop and all that other stuff. I mean, because I had to learn Adobe Premiere Pro in order to put together some of the videos that I did. But I also had to learn lighting. I had to learn angles. I had to learn camera angles. I had to learn types of cameras. I had to learn types of film. I had to learn a lot of different things. And then you have to figure out, okay, let me tell you, describing what you see is more difficult for people than they think.
Oh, say that again, good Sister Kim. Please say those words again.
It is describing what you see in front of you or in your mind is hard. It is very hard. It's difficult because you know what you see, but now you got to describe it to somebody else, the AI, for it to generate exactly what it is that you want. And the thing is that we don't realize is that everybody doesn't see in the same color that you see.
Right.
Everybody doesn't see at the same, when you visualize or envision things, everybody doesn't see at the same angles that you see. We take it for granted that we all see the same thing. And when you think about your memories, just think about your memories of your childhood. Do the memories of your childhood look like an old vintage film?
Yep.
Or does it look like a Star Wars movie? or does it look like a sitcom, or does it look like a live studio, or you know what I'm saying? Those are all different ways, that different things that not necessarily I had to learn, but I realized, this stuff that I'm envisioning in my brain, I want you to see it exactly the way I see it. And so therefore I have got to change it up. I can't just prompt and say a woman walking across the street with really big glasses on. That's not the extent of what I do. It gets very in depth, and I don't think that we think of it in that sense. Every time I say that, I get an aha moment from someone else, and they're like, I didn't realize that you were doing all of that. Yeah, I am. I'm the director.
The aha moment from someone else that you get, is that person a creative?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, when I say that, a creative who has not tried AI.
Really? I see. I don't know. I guess for me, I love, and this is why, and I've said this on many episodes before, so I won't go into it too much, but I love really good concept. Okay. I really do. I'm a sucker for it. Logos. Okay. I'm a sucker for it so much that one of my favorite pastimes that I even got my wife into doing is I love trying to understand what someone put on their license plate. Like, I just love it. And when I'm like, okay, love you too. Oh, that's dope. I like that. Like, I love the creative concept, so obviously art is, it's the visual art is visual. Yeah. So you're drawn in visually. That's the first thing that grabs you, right? Yeah. But for me, I see that, and then right after that, I'm like, oh man, that idea is amazing. So when I see AI, and I've always been this way, I'm always looking at it from an admiration perspective. I'm always saying, dag, how do I do that? And not, do what the person did, but how do I do my own thing using this? So that's why for me, I was easily able to be like, no, your work is serious. Like, this is good. And I can, without a doubt, I can tell that you didn't just speak this into a phone. There's much more going on here. And that's why, I guess everybody can't rock out that way. But for me, most certainly, I can see that it takes a lot more. And then what you just explained, all that you had to learn because of, what you wanted out of it, and I guess, well, let me ask you this. Yeah. You're an author. Okay. Does you being an author help that? Because as an author, that's what you're doing, right? There is no vision. You're literally typing up you're creating the entire story all in words, and you're spelling out exactly what you want the reader to see in their mind and think, and so on and so forth. So you being an author, how much of an effect does that play in your storytelling as an AI storyteller? It plays a very huge effect. It definitely plays a big part in it. But even in writing that first book, everybody read the book, they loved the book. And then when I got ready to when I wrote the second one, I wrote it, wasn't too happy with it, but I still couldn't get all the words out. I still couldn't articulate fully so that you were in the moment, what I wanted to get out. Now, I was able to do it pretty good, probably better than most, but there was more, there was more. Gotcha. And so, I'll give you one really good example. For Thanksgiving, I did this one video, and, I did it, and I called it Memory Lane. And I always, now, it depends. Sometimes I'll be sitting here behind my desk and I'll hear a song, and then all of a sudden I get all these images, and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I want to do, and I want to do it to this song.
you know, or sometimes I'll be, you know, creating images and then I'm like, oh, I know, let me find the perfect song for this. But not just that, but that one in particular, I wanted it, and this answers your question. I can tell you all day about grandma cooking, baking a cake. You know, my dear, Big Mom, Mima, whatever you called her. I can tell you all day about her baking a cake, and I can tell you about how it smelled and the feeling you got when you walked in the house during the holiday, whatever the occasion was, when family came together, there was this atmosphere. And I can tell you about it all day. But remember that saying, I don't know if your parents ever told you this, I can show you better than I can tell you. And that's what I thought of when I started making these images, and that video in particular. And instead of just putting a grandmother in it or putting a relative in it, you know, or somebody look like an auntie, the rich auntie, you know, or someone who, you know, all the coats were on the bed in the bedroom, you know, when everybody came over.
When everybody came over.
Coats on the bed, you know.
Right.
There's this one part in the video. Well, there's actually a few parts in the video. I take it from what's called a point of view, where I want you to be the participant in the video. I don't want to just show you a bunch of images, but I want you to be the participant. So I had the person, all you saw was their hands on the handlebars of the bike, and you saw their knees going up and down. So it was almost like you were on that bike.
You were on the bike, right?
So I took you into, I took you back. I took you back into that memory visually, because if not anything else, most of us, we know, you know, what we went through or what we saw or what we experienced, you know, in our childhood. And then I took it even a step further, and I switched up, and I did it on purpose. Some people would say, well, she not even consistent in how her images look. No, I'm doing that on purpose, because part of the video, and I always do, sometimes I'll do a behind the scenes, and I did it for this one. Part of the video looked like a home video, like an old VHS camera film. Part of it looked like Polaroid pictures. Part of it looked like a film, and part of it just looked like, you know, other just regular 35 millimeter or whatever.
Right.
And I did that on purpose, you know, because when you go and you look through that family album, you're gonna see all kinds of stuff if it's old enough, you know. And what does that do? That sparks a feeling, you know. It takes you back like you're there, you know. And so that's the difference in, you know, in what I do. So, you know.
You see, once again, you explained that, but I didn't need the explanation. I'm glad you did, but it's because I could clearly tell that this is an artist through and through. I don't care. Well, it's not at this point, and it's not at that point yet. I don't know if it will get to that point, but right now, AI can't do all of that. Yeah. It cannot. It can't do all that. It can't say, okay, I'm going to start off as a POV and then switch it to the, you know, and it can't do all of that. Right. You know, that's got to be coming from you. Yeah. I interviewed, excuse me, Amaka Nikili. She's the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Afro Style magazine. Excuse me. And I asked her, as one of my just generic questions, do you consider yourself a creative? And she said, no, I don't think so. I wouldn't call myself a creative. I mean, I don't paint, or I can't do this, that, and the third. And I said, normally when I ask that question, I get the answer and I move on. But I said, I got to touch that. I can't believe you're telling me you don't consider yourself creative. You are the editor-in-chief of Afro Style magazine. You create and co-founder. You created this magazine. Who is the one saying no? Put that here. Who is the one saying no? This article should be here. We should be speaking about this. Oh, we should take pictures of that. You know, you're not writing the articles, right? You're not taking the pictures, but you're the one who's choreographing
Yeah.
this magazine. You're the one who had the vision to start it.
Yeah.
How can you think that you're not a creative? Because you didn't paint it, you didn't snap the picture, and it's just that's always amazing to me how people can miss.
Yeah, and that's because sometimes they put it in a box and said that creatives or whatever's are only in this box.
Yes.
You're only an athlete if you can lift 300 pounds and tackle, or you're only, whatever. And so a lot of times, I'm going to come back to what we were talking about before. A lot of times in the comments and in private messages, I get from people who see my stuff and say, this made me feel a certain way and I don't know why. And I'll say to them, well, first of all, I'm glad it made you feel that way, because it's usually always somebody said, I feel like that video just gave me a big old hug and I don't even know why, and that's why I do those behind the scenes, because then it gives everyone some context and they're like, oh my God. Yeah. And actually they start liking the behind the scenes more than they do the actual.
When they do the, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah.
It's, it's great, and then the more you get into it, the more you can actually do, and I think that is the best transition for chapter 3, which you titled Infinite Canvas.
Yes. My personal motto ever since college has been infinite thoughts create endless possibilities. That's just been my motto, that anything and everything is possible as long as you can think it. And to me, as long as you have breath in your body, it ain't over. And there's still possibilities. There's still so many possibilities. And so now that we have entered into this whole AI phase and have started doing this, these images and video and everything else, it has opened up a world. It has opened up a world before everybody else gets to see the world, because we're still in the early adopters phase.
Very much. Yep.
We're still in the early adopters phase, which is why I'm encouraging as many people that I know as possible to find their way, find your way through AI, because it's not going anywhere. Nope. And I made this analogy on another interview where I said, if I could go back in time and just put $5 down on Apple when it was a box, where would we be today? Right? And that's what AI is right now. It's that Apple box that, we know it's not going anywhere. If you have a smartphone in your hand, you're using AI. If you have a GPS in your car, you're using AI. It's here, it's been here, it's not going anywhere. But now what do you do with it? And so I have been, and it's weird because people are saying to me, they're like, oh my gosh, you do realize, like, you from a person of color and a woman of color, that, or any woman or person of color who's doing AI images and video and all of that, we're almost like pioneers right now. And someone said that to me, and I'm like, I ain't no pioneer. What you talking about? Right? So, but there's so many possibilities.
Yes.
And that canvas is just wide open. And the great thing about it, and I say this all the time, I don't feel like I'm in competition with anybody who's in this. Because one thing I've learned, if I've not learned anything else in business and in life, is that there is enough out here for everybody. Really, there's enough,
There's
and
more
so
than enough.
It's more than enough, and what's yours will be yours. And that's why I teach people how I do what I do. Now I do realize there's some people, they want to know exactly how I create my images, and I ain't gonna show you that. But
right.
I will show you how you can create your own, how you
There
can
you
create
go.
your own stories and your own vision, because that's where the magic happens. You
Yes.
know, the magic happens when you can dig inside of here and figure out, what it is and open up that canvas for yourself so that you have unlimited, possibilities. And I will definitely say, posting on social media and everywhere else, it's helped a
Mm.
lot. And you know what, let me put this out there too. Everybody's trying to go viral.
Yeah.
Everybody is trying to figure out, how can I get 1 million followers?
Yep.
You do not need 1 million followers for that one person that needs to notice you to
Yep.
notice you. You
Yep.
do, you know, stop chasing the fad, stop chasing the viral moment, because how many people have gone viral and you ain't never seen them again? You
And you
know,
never seen them again. Just that one bomb. That was that.
that one little dance or that one little hiccup that they did or whatever,
Right.
and there's nothing
Right.
else underneath all that other. There's no other, at least there are no more hiccups that will keep them famous. And
Yeah.
so I've just encouraged everyone to still put your content out there, still put yourself out there and be genuine. You may get
Mm.
2 people today, you may get 1,000 people tomorrow. But the situation where with me doing the video with Layla Hathaway just opened up the doors for a lot of other opportunities that have just been coming my way left and right, which I'm very thankful for. But I have to go back and say, I don't even know how she found me. I didn't
Mm.
have 1 million followers. I had
Mm.
maybe 3,000, 3,500 or something like that, maybe 4,000 followers on TikTok. And she wasn't even following me. And the algorithm took my video her way, took one of my videos her way. And that's, how that happened. And so, just keep doing what you're doing and open up that canvas. And that's why I said infinite canvas, because sky's the limit, sky's the limit.
It's one of the things that you said
Mm-hmm.
that me and my wife talk about a lot. It's just like, look, everybody can eat out here. Everybody can eat. I'm not after you. I'm not after your audience. You know what I mean? I'm after mine's. I'm after my audience. You dig?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to create my audience and feed them.
Yeah.
And my audience doesn't have to be your audience, and at the same time, my audience can also
Yeah.
be your audience.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for there to be feel a need for a competition or anything like that. It's like, no, man, I'm not. I'm doing what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do what I do, and that's perfectly fine. And those that like what we do will like what we do.
Yeah.
And then we can just continue to move on from there. Excuse me. One of the reasons that I wanted to create the L.O.S.T Creative Podcast was because I was running into a lot of closed doors. I was running into a lot of difficulty with promoting my book, Lost Levels of Storytime, Volume 1. And then when I was trying to reach out, when I tried to go for the paid route, okay, well, yeah, you could be on the podcast and pay me $35, $50, $70, and I'll shout out here or there and the third or whatever. And then I'm just like, okay, wait a minute. I'm paying how much to all these different, just for you to say my book at the butt end of your show, or something like that. And then I don't even, it's like, come on, man. And or if I wanted to be on it, a podcast, oh, okay, well, you would pay this much. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I understand what I have to do now. I need to create my own.
Your own
Thank you for inspiring me to do this. And the idea behind it, was okay. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to charge other creatives to promote their work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking to make it financially off of squeezing someone who's trying to make it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when I was talking about earlier, I get paying your dues, but sometimes, it's just like, dag, man. Everyone loves to hear I had to go through all of this story, right? Now look at me. It's an inspiring story, right? It's a motivational one and everything. But at the same time, I know you wish someone had to give you a break along the way. I know you do.
And
don't tell me.
Yep. And no story is complete if you didn't have that experience where someone opened that door. And that's what I'm doing in wherever and whenever I can, because I'll come across creators, I'll come across young creators who are phenomenal in what they're doing in terms of AI imagery, and telling stories. And I will send, them a message, on a private message and just say, hey, I hear so-and-so is opening up their creative partners program. Here's that link. I used it. Here, you need to use this too. I don't have a problem, scratching the back of the person behind me or in front of me, because I do realize that that's how I got to where I am right now, and you can't hoard information, or opportunity.
Right.
Because, you'll see, people making that analogy all the time. When you're holding and you're hoarding something, you have that fist clenched, and now you can't receive anything.
You can't receive anything. Yep.
You're holding on.
Yep.
You don't want to let it go. And so I've learned that lesson, and I have lived that life. And my grandmother has always taught me, you be good to people and people will be good to you,
Yeah.
But even if they're not good to you, you recognize I need to leave you alone, but that doesn't prevent you from being good to the next person.
Next person.
And so I get it. I'm with you all the way, on that one. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it is, it's just, it'd be nice if more people understood that. It really would be nice if more of us understood that, because that's one of the hardest pills to swallow. It's just like, come on, man. Like, I got enough to contend with. I don't need it from you.
Yeah.
We don't need it from each other. But, people like you and I are here. The L.O.S.T Creative Podcast is here to help stop that Afro Style magazine, because that's very much her dream, is to help promote Black and brown creatives. There to stop that silliness. And it will, because we have the talent behind it that's pushing it forward.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I want to take this time to go into some of your work.
Okay.
And I would like, you already explained one of them very well, but I would like to start off with my personal favorite, which is, you call it, I don't know if you actually title it this, but the Bag Lady.
Oh, the Bag Ladies. I love that.
First of all, I'm a sucker for a Black woman with an afro. You got me sold every time. You can show me a Black sister with an afro. I'm like, yes, I'm in. Where does this go? Every time it gets me. And then when you throw in that 70s type feel, it's just like, it's just so. I don't know if it was just like this wonderful work of art, or if it was just me being very partial to that, but I just love it. But anyway, go into, how
The
that came
concept
about.
behind that.
Yeah.
So those were some of my earlier images, and
Mhm.
those images. So everything is all the images that I create are around my playground pastime, alternate
Okay.
world. And I started
Gotcha.
getting into the alternate world creation when I started doing the photorealistic images. And 90% of my images are from that alternate world.
Okay.
And in this alternate, see, and that goes into your story, into the storytelling thing, because in my mind, there's there all of these different groups of people that live in this world. And I had I had it down to a science. Okay, this is this person, this person, this person, or whatever. And so in my mind there were a group of women who were called the bag ladies, and they they every day at a certain time they would parade down the street with their bags
Mm.
and with their beautiful outfits on. They didn't care what anybody thought about what they looked or how they looked, or the fact that it was summer and they had these big fur coats on. They just don't care. And I think, to be honest, everybody probably in this world is a little bit of me, you know. And
Mhm.
every black woman, I don't care who she is, where she is, but every black woman just wants the ability to just be herself, you
Yeah.
know, to just be herself, to not have to code switch,
Mhm.
to, if she want to wear her hair in a big afro, she wear her hair in a big afro and still look great. If she want to wear her hair down or whatever it is
Mhm.
she wants to do, she can do that and still look great and still be respected and still be classy. Because if you notice, none of my images are overly sexualized. They are not.
You're not. Oh, thank you so. I would have been completely remorse to have not mentioned that. I'm so glad you
No,
said that.
they are
No,
not.
yeah, I don't.
None.
I'm not judging anybody else's creativity. I don't want to take anything away from anyone else.
Hmm.
However they do is however they do. But for
Hmm.
me personally, I love that, and I
Yeah,
wish there was more of
yeah.
that.
Let me tell you, I grew up in a time, and I explained this on my website. I have a video there, and I cannot tell you how much it influenced my life. I was a child of the 70s. And during the 70s, there weren't many black women on television, period.
Hmm.
Okay, not that many at all. You had Diane Carroll, you saw old episodes of Diane Carroll on television, you saw Thelma on Good Times, you had Get Christy Love, that was a show that was on 1 year, and that's it, one season, and that's it. But you didn't really see too many leading women as black women on television,
Hmm.
or anywhere for that matter. So my house was steeped in Ebony magazines, Essence magazines, Ebony Junior magazines. And the one thing
Jet.
that we did all the time, every year, we went to the Ebony Fashion Fair fashion show. And
Oh,
that
okay.
that is where you saw these, for a little black girl to see these
Mm.
beautiful black models on the
Mm.
stage, you know, with these beautiful clothes on, graceful, just, gracefully walking across that stage. And, they were in the lights, and you just saw all of that as a little girl. That meant a lot to me because those women were
Mm.
gorgeous. They were beautiful. They were graceful. They were classy, but they were
Mm.
still sexy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were still, as I
Yeah.
look back on it, I didn't realize that back when I was a kid, but as I
Hmm.
look back on it as an adult, and I was like, they had sex appeal. They were just classy. And that's what I wanted to do with the bag ladies, and really with any women that I create in any of my images, but definitely with the bag ladies. And yeah, that's where that came from. It was all memories as a kid, but also incorporating those memories into that alternate world. Because so there's always something a little different about that world. It may be the car in the background. It looks like, what is that? Or it may be
Hmm.
something on their outfit, or it may be something that their outfit is exaggerated, or overly, fluffy with the furs and everything
Right.
else. But that's where that came from.
You know, I you said earlier, you said you always knew you were creative, but
Hmm.
you didn't necessarily know how to create something.
Yeah,
Um, when you were younger growing up.
yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, because it happens all the time
Hmm.
when I'm speaking with the creatives, I was thinking to myself, there was something. There definitely was something, because I kid you not, everyone always pinpoints something in their childhood that played a major impact and part to what they are currently doing now with their creativity.
Yeah,
And you hadn't said it until now, but I knew that there was something
yeah,
that definitely, and that's and you just said it, and it's just it's 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 amazing, because we have that situation as children, and we don't obviously we don't we don't fully understand, even though we love it, we still don't fully understand the
yeah.
impact,
You
you
don't.
know
You don't.
and then how
You
and then
don't.
how later on in life
It
we
comes
it's
out.
like recessive, and then or
Mhm.
subconscious, and then XYZ happens, and then
Yep.
we tap back into it, you know.
Everything is by was in my life. I can say this. Everything was by design. When I was a
Mhm.
kid, my grandmother raised me. My father's mother raised me, and my aunts were in the home where I lived. And at the time when I was a kid, my aunts, they were in college. They would take me to their African American studies class because they were
Mm.
babysitting me, right? And I was a good kid. I was really a good kid and a very observant kid. And so here I am at like 6, 7 in the 70s, sitting in the African American studies class. And they were talking about some heavy stuff in the
Yeah.
70s. And I'm just sitting there taking it all in. And the
Hmm.
professors are like, oh my gosh, she's such a good kid. She's just sitting there. And I'd have my little piece of paper and my little pen so that I could
Hmm.
take notes. I don't know what I was writing, but I could take notes, you know. And
Right.
my aunts, they would record the class with the big old tape recorder. They would record the class so they could go home and write their notes out. They would go sit at
Hmm.
the dining room table. I would go and I would sit at the table and I would listen to the class all over again. Why did I
Mm.
do that as a kid? At the time, I didn't know. It was just intriguing to me. It was just really interesting to me. And then you look at my stuff and you can see where you going with all this silver, this beautiful jewelry. It looks like it could be in the 70s, but it's not. Or these
Yeah.
afros, or this pride that you feel when you see these images. Well, that's part of it too. You know, that whole piece right there, just early on being told, no, you come from a good stock. And when I say that, I'm not
Yes.
just talking about family. I'm talking about,
No,
just culture,
I know
period.
what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, we do.
So it does come out. A lot of things, whether it's anger, fear,
Mm.
love, you know, and for some people, it's embracing it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, look, I am, and I'm sure a lot of your supporters and followers are very much thankful for your aunts having you sitting on the desk in those classes and taking you to the Ebony Festival.
me too.
So, I want to go into the segment now where I ask just like the generic questions that I ask all the creators on the show.
Okay.
Starting with my favorite question of them all: do you consider yourself a creator?
It depends on what day of the week it is. Yes, I do. I do consider myself a creative, and I think embracing it helps even more because it helps me through those quirky moments where I'm like, I don't really know where this is coming from. And you know what? I'm
Hmm.
going to step out on faith and I'm going to put this image out there anyway, even though I know it's the craziest looking thing. And those are the ones that people like the most.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. Okay. Um, what is the most challenging thing about being a creative, in particular, an AI artist or storyteller, as you prefer to be titled?
Um, well, I would think one of the most difficult things personally is getting over what I just talked about, the fear. Getting
Yeah.
over the fear of stepping out, doing something different, challenging the status quo, and standing on it. That's a difficult thing to do. But here's the other
Hmm.
difficult thing. I think one of the most difficult things is being a person of color in this arena. Um,
Right.
there aren't many of us, and I'm not going nowhere. You know, but, but it has caused me to put myself out there in situations that I would not normally put myself out there. And I'll give you this one example. Um, you can't be in the first of the first and don't open yourself up to learning what other people are that don't look like you are doing. And
Hmm.
that's what I did. I opened myself up to understanding and learning, even though I may be an introvert or whatever. I stepped out on a limb and reached out to some other creators on social media and just asked, "Hey, what are you using? How did you do this? Or how did you do that?" And that took me out of my comfort zone. But I
Right. Right.
realized I didn't have anybody else like me to talk to about it.
Hmm.
And so I had to do that. And I found some very friendly territory, where I'm meeting with someone next week that I've just met over Instagram who does work in the Asian field. Her art focuses on people who are of the Asian culture. And I love
Oh,
her.
okay.
I
Hmm.
love her work,
Hmm.
and she loves mine, but we have that commonality in that we can talk about, first of all, the art of it, number one, the technical part of it, number two, but number three, being an artist in our arenas and being someone who all of your subject matter looks like you. And
No.
that's
Yeah.
not what people want to see all the time.
No.
Want to
You're
see
right.
all the people all the time. They don't want to see all the
Hmm.
Asian people all the time, or whatever. But I have to stick to it and say, no, but that's what I'm going to do. You
That's what
know,
I'm going to do. Yeah.
that's a hard part right there, sticking to what it is that, staying true to who you are, and what you want to put out there.
A
So,
lot of the creatives I speak with very much mirror that. They say that that is one a very hard thing to making sure that you stay true to who you are, stay true to your creativity,
mhm,
especially when you're in a specific field, and then on top of that, if you start to get really successful in that field,
yeah.
staying true to your creativity. So yeah, no, thank you, excellent answer.
Yeah.
Um, who is the creative that inspires you the most, and why?
Oh my God.
I mean, doesn't necessarily have to be someone as far as AI. I just want to know who is the creative
Yeah, no,
that
I got
inspires you
you.
the most and why.
So there's not just one. There's not just one. Uh, if you were to walk in my house, I told you I was an art collector. 90% of my art are of other people. So I have this really huge image of Ella Fitzgerald. I have another image of, Prince. I have
Hmm.
another image of Angela Davis. I have another one, Nina
Hmm.
Horn, Dorothy Dandridge, Nina Simone, and I have, so Josephine Baker. I have all of my art is of people. I have a Jimi Hendrix. I got a
Got
Miles
it. Yeah.
Davis. So I take a little bit of creativity from a lot of different other creatives, who are in the
Mhm.
industry that, I can take a piece from and say, you know what, this kind of makes up who I am. But if I had to pick just one, it would be Prince.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
I had to pick just one. And the reason why I say that is because during a part of my life, um, there was one album in particular that shaped where I was at that particular moment. And I was a kid. And I was a kid at that time. And what was so different about it is that, again, that's another person, another creative who wasn't scared to be different. No matter what.
That's very true.
Right. Stood on being different, and just expressing what's there and never stopping expressing what was there. So that would be my answer.
Okay, good. As a creative, if you had the time, what art form would you like to get into and become really good at it? Put a real focus on, if you actually had the time to actually learn it and, actually become good at it. Out of all the things out there, what would be the type of creative you'd want to be?
I would get back into my piano. I would get back into playing the piano more, because I think that is, to me, that is the basis of everything else. It could be the melody, it could be the bass, it could be whatever. You learn piano, you learn chords, you can pretty much go to move, gravitate around. I would get back on that because it's just music is next to the images and the videos. The music for me is a really huge foundation of what I do. So it will be something in music. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I figured you would say that because you referenced piano a few times.
Yeah.
So it just I was ready to hear anything, but I was like, she won't say piano.
Yeah. It would be that.
How does being a Black creative affect your work and the promotion of it?
It affects it a lot. But here's the thing. Here's where the marketer comes in. This is where the branding hat comes in that I understand how to build brands. And I'm not just out here creating images and creating videos that are cute and fun and all that other stuff. I also want to make an impact. And so where does that leave me? Well, my goal is to become, a leading person or a leading person in thought on AI bias and how we combat AI bias and how do we get more Black people, African Americans, Black, into this field so we're not left behind. So being a person of color in with AI, I feel like there's a bigger responsibility, especially being a first in. We need more thought leaders, more people sitting on panels, and we need more people who are testing the software. We need more people of color who are using the software, because think about it, AI learns in two different ways. It learns from the training model that it was built on and whatever references it takes from the internet or wherever else. But it also learns from the user.
Right.
We're training the AI.
Yeah, every time.
And if we're not training the AI in imagery, we're going to get a lot more of what we've already gotten. Think about the fact that we are moving into a time where our history they're attempting to erase our history. So we got to figure out a way to keep it prevalent, to keep those stories being told. So that's another responsibility that I feel like I have, is to continue to tell the stories. Continue to tell the stories through the images, create new images and new stories, definitely. But to make sure that we have a seat at the table, basically. And if that means I got to kick the table over, then fine.
Okay. That's what's up. I love that answer. Okay. And the last question in that segment. I gotta kick the table. Okay. So, what are you the most thankful for as it relates to your creative journey?
Oh, Um, I am most thankful for my memories, because
Mm,
my memories have made up everything. I'm most thankful for the voice and the gift. And I realize that whatever gift it is that you have, I have, or whoever, it's not ours.
right.
It's not given to us to just hold.
To
It's
just hold.
given to give out, to give to the world. And so I'm most grateful just really for the gift, and for the voice and the ability to do that, to put it out there, to give it away. Yeah.
That's this is that last question is becoming is very much becoming my favorite,
Yeah.
because everybody's answer is obviously different,
Hmm.
because it's based on their creative journey, but and it's always interesting to know what people are the most thankful for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
You
I love
know,
that.
I will also say this to you, and I said this to somebody just recently. I'm really, and I will add this on. I am really grateful that I was born in an era where my great grandparents were still living and could
Yes.
and could tell me their stories. They were one generation out of slavery. They
Mm,
could tell me their stories. My grandparents could tell me their stories. My parents could tell me their stories. So you're talking about stories that started in 1900, and now
mhm.
we are in 2024. That's 100 years, 120 years or more of stories, of
Yeah.
just history and depth, you know. And I'm so thankful that I was able that I'm gotten to this point where we're now in, AI. Who would have ever thought? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm grateful for all of that history that I've lived through, through knowing and actually talking to my great grandparents all the way up until here we are, 2024, when we were like 20, 30 years out of slavery.
Mm.
You, you know what I mean? That's
That's
impactful.
uh, it's extremely impactful.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. When you um it's it's not only impactful, but you said it. It's great to have had that.
Yes.
Where your great grandparents were still alive, and you could hear from.
Yeah.
My wife was fortunate enough to have that experience. I, but not from me. My grandparents, yes, but
Okay.
not my great grandparents.
Okay.
Um, but especially as it relates to us,
Yeah.
black people in this country,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, um, you don't. I I still got a lot
Hmm.
from just my grandparents. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
what they remembered, and uh,
Hmm.
uh, uh, what they remember having to go through,
Yeah.
because it didn't stop for us in 1865. You know what I mean?
No.
Eh, so
No.
what they had to go through, what they were told their parents had to go through, you know, but
Yeah.
not so much the misery, but what I got from it, at least. I got the misery too, but what I got from it was how we still
How
lived every
resilient,
day.
how resilient we were and
Yeah,
are.
how we were still able to enjoy,
Yeah.
time at the dinner table. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And how we can still talk about, oh,
Yeah.
when I went out to the dance,
Yep.
and
Yep.
how through
Yep.
that ridiculous,
Yeah.
horrible situation,
Hmm.
monumental situation, there was still you could still find joy. You could still
Absolutely.
find a life worth living.
Absolutely. Let me tell you something. The best thing that only one, just because there's so many I can think of. My great grandmother, I'll never forget this. I would go to her house. She would babysit me, and she was, she was up in age at the time. And she said, we're going to go on a little field trip today. And I said, okay. We got on the train and we went out to this suburb called Oak Park. It's right outside of Chicago. It's like west of Chicago. She used to be a maid. She was a maid for this Jewish family in Oak Park. She took me to the house of that family, and she sat me down and she talked to her old employer. She bragged on me and everything else. And then we went after that. Now somebody would say, well, why would she do that? So then we left there and we went to Woolworths. Woolworths was still open. And we went and sat at the counter. And she said, I want you to sit here, because we couldn't sit here when I worked for her. I just want you to know, Black people, we couldn't sit here. And so I witnessed it for myself. You know what I'm saying? I didn't need a school book to show me that. It was good, but I witnessed it for myself because my great grandmother sat me down and she showed me that. But let me tell you the flip side of that. My great grandmother traveled the world. Okay.
Wow.
Even though, yes, she worked in that, because a lot of times we look back on things and we say, I don't want to see nothing about us being maids. I don't want to see nothing. Well, maybe we need to, because there's triumph in a lot of that. Educated our family. We went to college, did all kinds of things. And she traveled the world. My great grandfather, he did his thing. So, I just think that a lot of these stories and a lot of these experiences we need to hear them, because they make you sad, but they make me really proud sometimes, because I look at what they did in spite of, look at how many cultures were wiped out by what we went through.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? There's some civilizations that don't even exist.
Right?
They weren't resilient. We were very resilient people, And so
me and my wife talk about this, and I said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll argue it with anybody. I very much believe no one could have survived what we went through.
No.
Especially the way we did it.
No.
And testament to that is we're still doing it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We're still, to this day, the oppression is still there, the exploitation is still there, and we're still finding ways. We are
a people that don't even realize, at least not all of us, realize what we have up here. And I'm gonna say this, and you and I could probably talk all day. But one of the statistics that they have out there is that children of color are gravitating more towards AI than any others. There's another statistic that talks about entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs of color are using AI more than other entrepreneurs. Problem is, we're not using it. We're not using it enough. We're only scratching the surface. But that statistic that I heard about the children really made me say, that's very interesting. That we're the ones, our children are the ones who are picking up on it and adopting it and excelling in it more than any other. That has to say something to you. That's a pure mind. We're not going to the level that we could go to. And some of us are. A lot of us are. But I want to encourage everybody to do something more,
Yeah.
Because we're resilient. We can do this. We can make it. We're gonna be okay.
There you go.
We're gonna be more than okay.
More than okay. Yeah. We're gonna be all right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because we've been there, done that already. Welcome to the party.
Been there and done that. Like, it's just like, this may be new to some of y'all, but
welcome to the party.
Just another day, just a different look. But so the last segment is I titled "Take It to the Gut," GUT, which stands for Giving Up the Tangibles. So that's where I just asked you a few questions, resource questions to help creatives, aspiring AI creatives, to get where you are.
Okay.
So, first question is, what should aspiring AI artists do to get better at their craft?
Try something different. Try a different prompt. Go look at other AI creators who don't create like you, and just, I'm not saying take their ideas or anything like that, but just get creative inspiration from other places that you don't normally get.
No, that's great.
Mhm.
Great. And how would they get started, with this, with being able to, one of the things that was very interesting to me is, you creating an image, but then, wow, you're making this move. Like, how are we doing this? So how would they start with that?
In terms of creating AI videos.
Yeah.
So if this is someone who's creating images like on Midjourney or DaVinci or some of the other AI image generators, just try all the different ones out there. They all have the video generators. They all have free subscriptions. You could try Luma, Dreamlabs. Luma Dreamlabs is one that I use a lot. Runway is another one that a lot of creators are using, and then there's some like Halu and Kling that other AI creators are using. So I would say just try them. They all have free versions. See what you like, and just there's always YouTube University that you can go and get information to just see how to get going on them. But just pick one or two that you like the most, and just practice.
I am a what do they call them? I can't remember the term for it, but I am a life student of YouTube University.
Yes.
Life student of YouTube University with so many things. So
yes.
Yes. I recently found out that the most videos that do the best on YouTube are actually how-to videos.
Yes, they are.
How-to videos is what generates the most money on YouTube.
YouTube is the number I think it's the number 2 search engine. Yeah.
So that's very impactful. Okay, and then lastly is what should they do to get what should they do to best promote their work and themselves?
So I would say pick more than one platform to put yourself out there on. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and I was reluctant to get on TikTok, and that just goes
So was I.
Oh my God, I was like, I went on TikTok kicking and fighting, and that's where I was found, was on TikTok. You know what I mean? So I would say pick more than one platform, because if one goes away, you're not just all in one area. I would say establish some type of YouTube channel, because YouTube is pretty solid, and it, like we just said, it is a huge search engine, and video speaks 1,000 words. A picture speaks 1,000 words, and so video is going to be the number one way to get in front of people. But I would also say, like I said, step outside of your comfort zone. Put yourself out there, put your work out there. Don't be afraid to put your work out there, and collaborate with others. That's another great way to get yourself out there. Collaborate with others that have larger audiences that are open to collaborating with you. And yeah, those are some of the ways that I was able to get myself out there, and let people know what you're doing. You can't be secret. You can't be a secret agent.
Right.
You gotta let people know.
Right.
You gotta let people know. So
good. I would like for you to take this time right now, Kim, to please provide everyone all the handles that you have, websites, email addresses that you want to give, the best ways that people get in contact with you, look you up, so on and so forth. Please go ahead and do that now.
Okay. So I am on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, um, Facebook, all under my name, Kimberly Offord, and KIMBERLYOFFORD. So you can find me on any of those social media platforms. And you can, my website is playgroundpastime.ai. That's where you'll find all of my AI work is there. And email address, if folks want to get in contact with me, actually, if folks want to get in contact with me, because I have so many different things, they can just reach out to me either on my website or through social media.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Kimberly Offord.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking the time, for being on the L.O.S.T Creatives podcast, for expressing all that you've expressed, for allowing the L.O.S.T Creatives podcast audience to get a better, deeper understanding of just how creative and how creative you have to be as it relates to producing really good AI images and video, explaining all that you studied and went through to put yourself at the point where you can do the magnificent work that you do. And then, for all the other points and things that we spoke about, the social impacts and issues, that we face as Black and Brown creatives. It's really, I'm so thankful that you responded and you made time to be on the show. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And I want to thank you for creating this platform, for people to be heard, for people of color, Black and Brown to be heard, and not have any strings attached to it other than just getting the message out there and putting themselves out there. You're doing a great work. And so I just want to commend you and thank you for everything that you're doing, and anything I can do ever to help raise your platform to another level. Call on me anytime. We play cousins now.
We play golf. That's what's up. I will take it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, once again, for listening in, for tuning in. Please continue to, watch and subscribe on YouTube and download on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the other podcast listening channels. Please remember to go to www.thelostpublishing.com. Lost Lovers of Storytime Volume 1 is available for purchasing. Please definitely pick that up. Know you are a creative, as always, and tell me your story.